Oh, you're treating your husband like a child? Was he acting like one? I don't know, we'll have to see. Happy apple picking day! Or day after. I know, you guys know that I'm not doing well right now. A few reminders for all of our new friends. If you want a chance for your stories to be featured on Am I the Bad Apple, you can send them to my subreddit, r/AmITheBadApple. And as a reminder, we all come from different branches of the apple tree, okay? And what that means is that we've all grown up and lived different lives and have different experiences, and those experiences shape our perspectives and our opinions. We might read the same story two completely different ways. We might hear tones and interpret them a little bit differently. And that's just human nature. That's the experience. We also all have different boundaries and lines that we're willing to compromise on. No two people are the same. So just keep all that in mind while we're discussing down in the comment section. So without further ado, let's get started with this week's episode of Am I the Bad Apple? Well, let's go apple picking. Apple number 1. Am I the bad apple for not sharing my inheritance with my sister? My sister, 40, and I, 36, lost our mother back in 2013 and recently lost our dad this past May. To say that each of us was devastated would be an understatement. We've recently appointed an exactor from our parent estate and are working to get the trust put together so that the money can be split between the two of us. I recently found out that there's a sum of money that my parents left to me and not my sister. Let me give you some context. There was a time when my sister fell into addiction and the relationship between her and my parents was strained. She took advantage of them and they just kind of all stopped talking at some point. I know that this is when they made a lot of adjustments to the trust, and including the fact that we would have to get background checks and drug tests before we could inherit anything. Well, she's making me feel guilty about getting this money every chance she gets, and I've thought about sharing it with her more than once, but decided not to. Keep in mind that the money in question is totally separate from the trust. It's not like she's getting nothing. I decided that this money was left to me by my parents, so I'm keeping it. However, I'm starting to feel guilty about it. Am I the bad apple for not sharing it with her? I think there's gonna be a lot of opinions here, but I'm gonna go ahead and say no for a few different reasons. First of all, if your parents changed the stuff in the will together, as it you're using a lot of they, this is when they made adjustments to the trust, and that's what it's sounding like to me, is that they made those adjustments. Your mom passed in 2013. And a lot of times, as someone who I have experienced, death, I have had loved ones pass, and when that happens, typically it makes people around this person kind of think about, oh, do I have my will in place? Do I have this in place? Do I have it brings up those thoughts. So the fact that your parents made this decision together and then your mother passed and your father still didn't change the will tells me that that was intentional and tells me that was on purpose. So regardless of how your sister feels about it, you shouldn't feel bad or guilty that your father made the choice that when he passed, he wanted this particular thing to go to you. That's not your fault. You didn't do this to her. That's what your dad wanted done with his possessions, with his assets. Second of all, I almost wonder if this sum of money kind of matched what you said, that she took advantage of them, she had an addiction issue. This makes me wonder, did she steal from them? Did they try sending her to rehab? Those all include monetary issues. And so I wonder if the sum of money that they left you separately was equivalent to what they used to try and help her get clean, or what she might have stolen from them, or things like that, which would make sense. I don't know if that's the case or not, but that sounds like that's something that makes sense. But regardless, I think it's ultimately your decision, because you also said that they just kind of stopped talking. It's very possible that they gave you extra because you stayed in their lives and you kept in contact. Your sister can say all day oh, it's not fair, we're sisters, they were both our parents, right? But did she put in the time, energy, and effort to have a relationship with them anytime recently? Your mom died in 2013. That's over 10 years ago at this point. That's a long time. Has she been in contact with your father? Did she build up a relationship with him again? If the answer is no, then why would she feel entitled to people are more than what you inherit from them. That is kind of gross. Oh, I know I didn't really care about this person. I barely spoke to them in 10 years, but I deserve the money they leave behind. What? That's I think that's kind of a gross mentality to have. I don't like that. I don't agree with it. So like, it's hard for me to imagine what I would do because both my brother and I have very close relationships to our parents. So like, I can't imagine that happening. Like our families are all very close. I personally don't feel like you should feel bad because when you kept up this relationship with your dad and your parents, they left something extra to you for like maintaining that relationship with them. And I think that's fair of him to do whatever he wants with his own assets. And if she didn't like that, then maybe she should have kept a better relationship with them. I don't know what else to tell her. So I'm going to go good apple, and there might be some people who disagree with me, and that's fine. And like, we didn't even touch like what the grief process would look like for her right now, right? She just lost her father and is feeling like her father that just passed, like maybe had a favorite, maybe it wasn't her. Like, I can see those being valid feelings in her as she's going through the grief process. We haven't even touched on that. I'm just kind of looking at the ideas about the money involved. So yeah, I'm still gonna go good apple because I just am. Apple number 2. Am I the bad apple for humiliating my sister at my wedding? I, 29 female, just got married. My sister Tara, 27 female, and I have never had the best relationship. She's always been pretty insecure, and growing up, there's always been a lot of tension between us. I've always tried to be sensitive to it, but it's been hard because she has a tendency to lash out in passive-aggressive ways. It got a lot worse when I got into a college that she didn't get into. At my wedding, I was mingling with a guest, and Tara comes up to me and said that I would have looked better in red. Excuse me? That's an insult. Basically saying that the bride should be in red is calling them a that they're not pure enough to wear white. I told her, I get it, Tara. You're jealous. No one wants you. But this isn't the time to make your insecurities my problem. I didn't shout, but my tone was harsh. Tara stormed off, and I could tell some people overheard. My brother later told me that I was out of line, and I should apologize, that I humiliated her in front of everyone. Tara wants an apology and said that I was being a jerk. My parents just said that we're all gonna have to get over it because this is just an ongoing issue. I don't think I did anything wrong, but am I the bad apple? So I don't have a sister. Yet I am waiting for my brother to propose. He and his girlfriend just started dating, and that is not coming anytime soon. I just really like her. So it's like a bit, but I do really like her. She's great. Anyways, I don't have a sister, I have a brother, and I know that the way that brothers and sisters fight is very different, so I'm definitely gonna wanna hear from the sisters on this. Like, me not having a sister, I didn't take the, oh, you would have looked better in red, as a, oh, you're in white, why not red? Like, I don't know if I would have taken it that way, but again, I also don't have a sister that I don't get along with, right? I can see how, like, if someone that I didn't like came up to me and said something like that passive-aggressive, like, I would probably read into it. I would probably get paranoid. Like, I'm not saying that it's unfathomable. I'm just saying that, like, first of all, I can't imagine not having a close relationship with my brother. I'm trying to think, like, if one of his ex-girlfriends said that to me, I would probably read into it. I don't think that I would have, like, said those things back in retaliation, because again, I don't have a sister. Even if my brother tried trolling me a little bit, which, like, my brother trolls me constantly, but, like, it's never serious. And even if he does take it a little too far, like, I wouldn't lash out like that at him. So I wouldn't have said those things, especially in earshot of other guests. Especially if it was something that I knew that she was like, that my sibling was insecure about. That's just me. Again, like, my brother and I just have such a close relationship. Like, we would never try to hurt each other like that at this point. Like, when we were kids, we hated each other. But now that we're, like, adults, we would never do that. So I'm not gonna say she's a bad apple for it, because, you know, it's her wedding. Like, she's being attacked. She feels like she's being attacked at her wedding, whether or not the sister meant it or didn't mean it that way. I don't know. I don't have sisters. Again, if there was someone that I didn't like at my wedding and they said that to me, like, I might take it that way. But again, like, it's a sibling. So, like, they could have meant it as a troll and they could have meant it as a compliment. Like, you look really good in this color. I don't know. I'm not gonna go bad apple, because I don't feel like, you know, lashing out when you feel like you're being attacked at your own wedding is, like, crazy and makes you a horrible, terrible person. But I also, like, I wouldn't have handled it this way. I'm struggling, because I feel like I would go crab apple, because I just feel like if it's really a problem, if it's a malicious thing, like she's baiting you and you're giving into the bait. Like you're what, 40? No, just kidding. Sorry, that was the last story. You're like 30. You're 29. You're 30. Like you're a year older than me. You're giving into the bait. Like it's your wedding. Why worry about, like, don't give into the bait. Like that's why I'm going crabapple. Not because I'm like, how dare she stand up for herself at her wedding. Like I would not speak to someone like that in earshot of especially in earshot of other people, to like embarrass them in front of people. Sure, it's her wedding and she was attacked first. I'm sure there's going to be people who disagree with me and say she has every right. I'm not saying she doesn't. I'm just saying that I wouldn't do that. I don't agree with handling it that way. Just don't give in to the bait. You're a grown woman. I don't know what I would have said in the moment, because like a lot of times responding to passive aggressive like that just is an in the moment thing, like an on the I can't even think of what word I'm using, like just, you know, it's quick thinking and it just comes to you in the moment. So I don't know what I would say, but I definitely would have handled it a little differently. So that's why I'm gonna go crabapple. Apple number 3. Am I the bad apple for making my mom feel bad? I, 18 female, live at home with my parents and 3 younger brothers. I'm about to graduate high school later this year, so I've been saving up money to afford going to college. I recently landed a job as a custodian at an elementary school to help me save, and I'm loving it so far. I've been a substitute custodian for the last 2 years, which, for those who don't know, it's kind of like a substitute teacher, just for janitors. So I already know how to do the work, but this is the first time I've actually landed a permanent position, and I'm excited. My boss and my coworkers are all super nice, and the job itself is easy, so it's been great. Earlier this week, however, I get a call from one of my younger brothers, 14 male, while in the middle of work. I answer his call, and he began to tell me that no one's picked him up from school yet. He tried calling my mom, but she never answered, and my dad is at work. At this point, it's almost been an hour since school got out, and he's just waiting outside, not sure what to do. I told him that I was at work and I couldn't leave to go pick him up, especially because I was about 25 minutes away from his school, but I would try to see what I could do and call mom. So I started calling her and she didn't answer me either. I stood there trying to get a hold of her for what seemed like an eternity until she finally picked up. I informed her of the situation and told her that she needs to go pick up my brother, and she agreed, but she sounded really annoyed. When I came home from work, she immediately questioned why I couldn't pick up my brother from school today. I told her I can't just leave my shift at work to grab him. I said I didn't see an issue as to why she couldn't go pick him up, as it's only about a 7-minute drive there and back. She told me that she wasn't actually at our house, but at her friend's house down the street. She said that she was able to drop the youngest kids, 8 and 11, off at a friend's house after school, and this finally gave her an opportunity to hang out with her friends since she was kidless for an afternoon. I said that's fine that she wants to hang out with her peers, still the parent of my 14-year-old brother, and it's her responsibility as a mom to pick him up and not leave him at school for an hour. She started to blow up in my face, telling me how terrible I am for accusing her of being a bad mom, and how as an older sister, I should have picked him up from school. She started going off about how this is the first time in a while she's been able to hang out with her friends, and how she's really needed the alone time, and I ruined it by not taking her brother home. I started arguing back, saying that while I do love my brother, he's not my child. I'm not his mother. It's not my job to pick him up from school. Things got pretty heated, and she hasn't talked to me since, so am I the bad apple? Okay, I'm gonna start this off by saying that, like, moms get tired, man. I get that. That's a thing. Moms do so much and they get tired, and sometimes they just need, like, adult time. They just need to talk to other adults and not children. I get that, okay? Some of my best friends have kids right now, and I try my hardest to, like, be available a couple times a week for, like, hey, do you need to have an adult conversation with someone that's not 2? Like, I'm your girl. That also doesn't mean that, like, your kids become other people's responsibility. Like, that's just not how that works. Unless you had an arranged agreement of, like, hey, on this day you're gonna go get Timmy, and then you just schedule work or something comes up, then she has a right to be, like, upset that you didn't go get Timmy, because, like, you had an agreement beforehand that you were gonna do that. But that's not what happened. Like, she just, well, why can't someone else go get him? Well, that's your kid, hun. Like, there's no reason for other people to, like, drop what they're doing unless there's like an emergency going on. And I get that sometimes needing adult time can feel like an emergency, but it's not. They're kind of emergency. Like, that's not how that works, okay? I get that moms need a break, and if you need a break, then like going to your 18-year-old saying, hey, I'm not well. Is there a day this week that we can work around your work schedule? Or is there just a day this week that you're available to pick up the kids so I can have an afternoon to myself? Like, that's valid. Check in before, but you can't just expect everyone else to drop what they're doing and drop work because like you want to relax for a day. Like, you have to communicate your needs to people. And even when you do communicate your needs, again, not everyone can always just drop what they're doing, you know? But like, yeah, this teenager didn't do anything wrong for not leaving work because you wanted to hang out with your friends. Like, that makes no sense. So I'm going good apple on this one, for sure. Apple number 4. Am I the bad apple for treating my husband like a child? I, 28 female, and my husband, 30 male, just welcomed our first baby almost 3 months ago. Understandably, it's been a huge adjustment for both of us. The baby's not sleeping through the night, and we're both back to work full time. We've always split the household responsibilities 50-50, and we just help where needed, and it's always worked out well. Well, lately, my husband's been doing the chores terribly, and I've had to come behind him to fix things or clean them again. For example, he cleaned the bottles the other night, and they were cleaned so poorly, I had to do them again. He dropped pump parts down the disposal and then ran it, ruining them. There have been several clothes that he didn't clean up after a blowout that are now ruined. There's so many more instances like these. I've confronted him a few times, letting him know that we all make mistakes. And I know we're both tired, but it feels like he's not even trying to do things well. He just keeps saying that he's so tired and is having a hard time working and taking care of the house and the baby. I do sympathize with this as I'm also working and pumping and recovering and taking care of the house and the baby. The final straw for me was when he told me to go to sleep and that he'd put up the milk I just pumped and finish the dishes. I was so grateful until I got up and realized the milk had been sitting on the counter all night and at this point wasn't good anymore. He said he was sorry and that he put on a show to relax for a bit before doing the dishes, and he fell asleep. The next day, I decided to cancel all of our streaming services, the PlayStation Plus, our theme park passes, all of this in order to hire a housekeeper. I figure if he's too tired to do basic household chores, then a housekeeper is necessary. If he's too tired to put the milk up, then he's too tired to play video games or for us to do a theme park day. We still have cable and like the actual PlayStation and the games that he can do, and he can do other activities outside instead of going to the local theme park. He blew up at me and said that I had no right. I thought I was doing us a favor so that we can get more sleep and not worry as much about the household tasks. Am I the bad apple for hiring a housekeeper without asking? Don't lie to me, okay? Don't lie to me. If you just left it at, what was it that you said? Hold on. If you left it at, if he's too tired to do basic household chores, then a housekeeper is necessary, which still sounds passive-aggressive, right? It still says passive-aggressive, but like I can at least see the vision when he's like, yeah, I meant to go put all this stuff away and I was so tired I just slept there on the couch. And I can see, well, if you're too tired to do basic household tasks, like that still sounds passive-aggressive, but I can see the vision. But that's not all you said. If he's too tired to put up milk, he's too tired to play video games. I'm not dumb, okay? No, we're not dumb here. That you didn't just cancel all this stuff to hire a housekeeper, which is, yes, a housekeeper is a privilege to have. Not everyone can afford it. It is an expense. And I'm not saying that you could afford it without that. I'm saying you also picked those things on purpose. For sure. For sure. Oh, it just so happened that it's all of his stuff that got canceled. Like, yeah, the theme park stuff you guys do together, but all of his stuff that you canceled to afford the housekeeper. You did it for us. Okay, what did you give up for the housekeeper? The theme park pass that he also gave up. Okay, do you play PlayStation? No? Okay, so what did you give up to be able to afford it. Because if you did it for us, then like, yeah, it would make sense. If you did it for the household, it would make sense if some expenses for the both of you got cut, and some for him got cut, and some for you got cut. So which one of these is your expense that got cut? And I'm not saying he's a perfect human being. I'm not like, yes, the milk is on the counter, it takes 2 seconds to put it in the fridge. I also would be pissed. I'm not saying you don't have a right to be pissed. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that I would also be pissed. I don't know what it's like to have a newborn. And all I do know is that different people deal with sleep deprivation differently. I don't know what's a reasonable, like, exhausted, oopsie whoopsie, I'm messing this stuff up and not doing well. Like, I also know that postpartum depression is a thing. I don't know what the term would be for like dudes who are like struggling after newborn comes home. I don't know all the clinical terms. I don't know how all that stuff works. I've never experienced it. I'm saying that it would be wrong of me to just crap on this guy for like struggling with a struggling newborn when I don't have any experience of like what it's like to take care of a kid. And there might be tons of moms and dads in the comments saying like, no, he's messing up. And that's valid. Then I'm learning something new. I just don't feel like I can crap on him for not entering the world of parental unit as gracefully as you are. Not saying that you're not struggling, but like if you're still able to stay so well on top of things, like that's great. I do know other people who like don't handle it as well. I don't know what's normal and what's not. Additionally, like on top of it, I feel like that if you're canceling all these household things for a household expense, a conversation needs to be made. And not like I've seen some of the comments, you're like, well, I just asked like, oh, should we hire a housekeeper? And he said it was a waste of money. Like that's not having a conversation of like, hey, these things keep getting missed, and if these things keep getting missed, I'm doing X, Y, Z so that we can get a housekeeper because this isn't sustainable. Like passively saying like, should we just get a housekeeper is not the same of having the conversation of like, these things are happening, if they keep happening, this is what we're gonna have to do, and we're gonna have to do this for our family. Like that's two totally different things. So like, I can't give you good apple because one, this was not a discussion of like, I'm going to be doing this. This is something that our household needs. Two, like, I don't feel like saying like, well, I don't get it. I thought this was gonna be great. Okay, but like the things that you canceled were a thing of spite. Again, if he's too tired to put the bottle away, he's too tired for video games. And I'm not disagreeing that the bottle thing is a problem. 1000% should have been able to take the 2 seconds. I'm saying that the decision feels very spiteful to me. And I don't know, when it comes to having an infant at home, I don't know what's fair in making a point. I've never experienced that before. But as someone who doesn't have kids, everyone feels wrong. You know what I mean? It feels like a bad batch. Like, I don't want to completely crap on him and be like, he should be able to do all of these things while he's sleep deprived. Like, I don't know what's reasonable to forget and what's reasonable to not forget. I think he's messing up, but I'm not going to label him a bad person for it because I just don't have the experience in that area. But like, you're coming off a little spiteful about it, specifically with the words like, if he's too tired to do XYZ, he's too tired for video games. That sounds like something like a parent would scold their child. Like that literally sounds like when my mom thought I was faking being sick when I had West Nile fever. And like, I think that's where a lot of where my mentality comes in. Like, I remember when I was a kid, I wasn't feeling good. I was like 16. And my mom wanted to do spring cleaning, right? And I was like, I don't feel good. And she was really getting on me because like I wasn't cleaning that morning. I wasn't doing things properly. I wasn't like getting things done as quickly as she wanted. And she was like really mad at me. And I was like, I don't feel good. I feel so sick. And she thought I just wanted to get out of cleaning. And my mom is like, oh, well, if you're too sick to clean, I guess you're too sick to watch TV and you're too sick to play on your phone, so you can go sit on the couch and just be sick, because she thought I was faking it, right? And I took 2 steps and I collapsed, right? I stopped breathing. I came to consciousness like in another room in the house with like both parents like trying to slap me awake because my lips turned blue. It freaked them out. They shoved me in the car. Took me to the ER. I remember looking at my mom saying, I told you I didn't feel good. She didn't think it was as funny as I did. But anyways, I ended up having West Nile fever. So like, I'm just saying that like your interaction in like the giving him crap for, oh, well, he's too tired of it, he's too tired of that. Like it gives me the same vibes of my mom thinking that I was like faking being sick, if that makes sense. So I really want to hear from like the parents down in the comment section on this issue, especially the parents of the newborns who are like going through it right now. I definitely want to hear your perspective. For now, I'm going to go like bad batch. I still don't have like a really good bad batch icon, so we'll just go with the bad apple one. But yeah, like this is definitely for me, like it's a bad batch. So I got 2 good apples, a crab apple, and a whole bad batch. Did you get anything similar to me, different? I definitely want to hear your thoughts down in the comment sections. And as a reminder, if you want a chance for your stories to be featured on Am I the Bad Apple, you can send them to my subreddit, r/AmITheBadApple. Now for your well wishes today, it is National Fossil Day and it's National Sports Day. So we got something for the athletic people, we got something for like the sciencey people. If you like both, that's great. If you like neither, this is not your day. So if you are someone that is into like paleontology and science and fossils, like definitely let me know what's the coolest one you've ever like researched or looked into or read about, anything. And if you're a sports person, definitely let me know your favorite sports teams down in the comments. And you can let me know, my favorite sport, people always tell me it's not a sport. Cheerleading is a sport. It's one of the most dangerous sports that exists. It's a sport. Can't convince me otherwise. I did 15 years of it. If you've never done competitive cheerleading and you say it's not a sport, I'm sorry. You just don't understand. You don't understand what goes into it. Like, if you've never experienced it, your opinion's like, it's hard to take it seriously when you don't understand it. You know what I mean? So just let us have it. Like, we know. We did it. I've gotten so many concussions from that sport. It's a problem. Anyways, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day and hope to see you all next week. Bye, my lovelies. Mwah.